He was a product of Jewish education. Not my Jewish education, but he was the product of Jewish education. He was the product of a belief system which had the stamp Jewish on it. I could not disown him. I could not say he's not Jewish. He was. And we had to confront the ecosystem that allowed a Jew of faith, in this case, a product of a structure of what went wrong. And I think, frankly speaking, that each of our religions confronts the same thing. We, HAC, we were 3 miles from the World Trade Center. I can't hide the fact that Yigal Amir was a Jew and acting in what he believed was the best interest of Jewish faith. And I'm obviously not a Muslim, but if I were, I believe I would apply the same principle. It's too easy and simplistic to say, by definition, they are not Jews or they are not Muslims because they violate the core commandments of our faith. But whoa, slow down. Slow down. They believed they were acting in the name of the faith. That it was a twisted, demented interpretation. It may well be true, but it cannot obscure the fact that it happened in the name of faith. And I think what is required, and I've already made several references to the Christian community and to issues within the Christian community and the Catholic Church historically. I think the strength of the religion is when its leaders confront not just transgressions elsewhere by other religions, but most importantly within our own. That's why for me, Nostra Aetate was such a seminal moment, because it could not have been easy. I was not there, I was 16 years old. It could not have been easy. I mean, after all, if your notion of your faith is that, in a way, it is unquestionable. It is a kind of blueprint for life. Then how do we reconcile that with the distortion or hijacking or kidnapping of that faith in the name of that faith? So I think the only answer, or perhaps the immediate answer, is people have to have the courage. I had a taxi driver. I was in Brussels after the 2 terrorist attacks. I was there during, one at the metro station in the center of Brussels near the European Union institutions, and the other at the Brussels airport. And I was a few hundred yards away from the one downtown. And in lockdown for a number of hours, and then the city was in lockdown, and then within a day or two, we couldn't go to the airport, but we could go to the train station to get out of Brussels. And I had a taxi driver. And he was originally from Morocco, and he wanted to talk to me. Spoke in French. And as I mentioned earlier, my parents spoke French at home. And he wanted to tell me, you know, monsieur, the people who did this were not Muslims. And I said, I didn't know who they were. I mean, in the early moments of these things, you know, news is coming from every direction. They were neo-Nazis, they were this, they were that, who knows? So, tread carefully. So I said, wonderful, I'm glad to hear that, but how do you know? And I'll never forget his answer. He said, because a Muslim doesn't kill. And if a Muslim kills, he's not a Muslim. Now I thought, this is just one taxi driver, this is not a great religious scholar. But I thought, there's a beautiful logic to it. And it wasn't for me to argue with the taxi driver. I just absorbed what he said. But at the end of the day, I reject what he said. Because as I said, when Yigal Amir killed Yitzhak Rabin, we could not disown him by saying he violated one of the 10 Commandments, ergo he is not Jewish, ergo we have no responsibility for dealing with the consequences of what he did. We do have a responsibility. Each of our religions, and I think we have to confront them.
Absolutely. While you have one more minute to think about your answer to the first question.
Thank you for saving me.
I just want to add to that is that, we don't have the right to call someone a non-Muslim. I mean, that's between them and God. But we do have the right and obligation to speak up. And so one of the things I want to make sure that people understand is that, every terrorist act, whether it be against Americans or whether it be against Jews somewhere else, the Islamic Center and Muslim organizations throughout the country and the world have done those condemnations. And so it's very important, because one of the first things I hear from people is, why don't Muslims condemn such acts that are maybe perpetrated by people who call themselves Muslim, but their actions are un-Islamic, as the example that you gave. And the second, very quickly, is that then we also have an obligation to teach our children nonviolent ways of resolving their differences. And so Shabana is one of the founding members for Muslim Mothers Against Violence as well, is that the whole premise is that you have the right for grievances. You have the right to, defend what you believe in, but there are ways that you can do that that are within the Islamic guidelines, that doesn't involve killing innocent people, that shouldn't involve that can't involve harming yourself, because suicide is forbidden as well.
It's so interesting. Each of our religions has as a central tenet what we all call the golden rule. It's one simple sentence. No matter how we express it, love thy neighbor as thyself, or some variation of it. It exists in Islam, it exists in Christianity, it exists in Judaism. One simple sentence. And if one stops to think about it, it's the answer to everything we've been talking about. And yet, thousands of years later, we have not been able to operationalize the sentence. We focus on other elements of practice, of other elements of faith, but at the end of the day, as Rabbi Hillel said in the Jewish tradition, when asked to summarize the Torah on one foot, he famously said, love thy neighbor as thyself, all the rest is commentary. In a way, that's it. That's it. So let's not lose sight of it. The most difficult thing for me over the last now 31 years was the year 2008, 2009, when a very severe economic crisis hit America. AJC had to cut our budget by 22% because the bottom was falling in the economy. No NGO, I'm sure no university, knew where the bottom of this was going to be. And the hardest thing was having to say goodbye to people who, through no fault of their own, couldn't keep their jobs. And having to let each one of those people go, knowing that they were going into a space where there might not be another job, yet they had to pay mortgages and worry about their children. It was through no fault of their own. They had done nothing wrong. On the other hand, for the agency to survive, we had to slash our budget, as many did. And to this day, I still see the faces of each of those staff colleagues. 22% of our staff, we're about 270. So we let go about 50, 55. And I met with each one by one. That was pretty tough. That's the part of management that is no fun. Part of management that is want the institution to go, and then enlisting others to support the vision, both on the team and in the fundraising community, and then being able to sort of see your vision realized one day, knowing that it's happening, it's real. But there's a painful side as well, and that is my painful side.
Okay. I think it's probably time that we close. We always try to finish around 9. And before we close, there's just a couple of things I wanted to take the opportunity to say. One, to thank Gary Zola, the matchmaker, who indeed did play a major role in helping put this evening together. Secondly, to thank Joan Robinson, the spouse of William T. Robinson III, for helping me and the executive committee and Thomas Moore take the IRL to levels not even imagined by our husband Bill. So I thank you for that, Joan. Bishop, would you come and do a closing prayer for us?
This is going to be something not very original to the folks who are here at Covington who have gotten to know me. I have a prayer that I have prayed every day since I was 12 years old. When I introduce myself to the diocese, I ask them to begin to pray it for me. I think it's a prayer that we can all pray, and it might contribute to our ability to have the conversations we need in our lives. It goes like this, simply: Lord, wherever I go from here, let me be strong in faith, let me be poor in spirit, humble, building up others. Make me a person, a man, after your own heart.
Thank you, Bishop, and we welcome you to the Diocese of Covington. And I want to mention to all of you, the next IRL program, we already have a date of February 24th. We'll get you more information as we get closer. The keynote speaker will be a professor from Notre Dame University named Dr. Patrick Deneen. And as I said, we will get other information as we move towards the end of this year and the beginning of the new year. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And I thank all of you who joined us. Thank you.
Oh, Ken, how you doing? God bless you.
How you doing?
Nice to see you.
Good to see you. You take care.
Hey, Ken, I'll be putting it all on YouTube, too.
Huh?
I'll be putting it all on YouTube.
Oh, good. This is good stuff.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Monsignor?
Student, Bishop Boy Scholar of the first year student, very involved in but he's going to 2 years in South Carolina and taught
Sunday am I here? It's Halloween.
31st. You got it. Yep. Oh, yeah. Students are very excited.
Oh, good. Oh, good. All right.
All right.
Well, thanks so
Have a
much.
safe trip.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
Have a good evening. I've always taken
You get her.
I'm glad to be here. I enjoy this service very much. You did a great job. Really Will you tell us, I hope we get together? All right. Thank you so much. I enjoy it. Oh, well, thank you. I'll call you. That'd be great. Thank you. Thank you.
But I can tell you this, well, but some people
How are you new?
How are you?
Travels with John Stephenson, former Superintendent of Education, Commonwealth of Kentucky. Nice to be here at St. Mary's Chapel here at Thomas More University. Enjoyed doing the filming here and listening to the discussions, which are always helpful and open people's eyes and educate them about different opinions. And that's one of the things we like to bring you at Travels with John Stephenson and June Guyman Stephenson. And it's nice to be here and see the bishop and all the other folks that were here and supportive. And I hope you all enjoy watching it on Facebook and on YouTube. And that's Travels with John Stephenson, 859-750-0000. And the email is small j, small s, 750-0000 @gmail.com. God bless you, and www.godspeaks, www.godsindependence.com, and www.godsbiz.com. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Travels with John Stephenson here outside the St. Mary's here at Thomas More University. God bless you folks. Hope you enjoyed it tonight.